Tradition, conservation, family, the outdoors. It matters to you. It matters to us. This is Hunting Matters, presented by Houston Safari Club Foundation. Here's Joe Bitar.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. This is Joe Bitar, your host of Hunting Matters on KPRC 950, brought to you by the Houston Safari Club Foundation. And with me, as always, is my buddy Ramon. Good morning, Ramon.
Good morning. I appreciate you having me back, Joe, and I'm sorry that you're cranky.
I'm not cranky. I'm tired.
Well, yeah, cranky, tired.
There's a difference. Yeah, we're moving this week, and, you know, that's always a fun time.
It's never a good thing. You have a pickup truck?
I do.
Yeah.
Yeah. We hauled, we've got movers, but there's some things that they won't move, like firearms, ammo.
You're the kind of guy with the gun safe, aren't you?
Yeah.
Ooh.
So we did 3 17-foot trailers full this weekend with various items. And, you know, you've got some knickknacks and memorabilia and china that's passed down through generations that we just don't want to risk. So, yeah, it's been long days, long nights, and but hopefully this time next week when we get together again, we will be at least in the house. So
yeah. Well, good luck with that. And do you have friends that'll help you move a lot of that stuff?
I have friends, but they disappear whenever.
Isn't that weird how that works?
It's dove season, or
yeah.
I've got to go out and check the trail cams and sort of thing. So, but interesting incident today. I went with the AC tech up in the attic just to check on a few things, make sure everything's working fine. And there's a family or families of squirrels and or coons living up in the attic. So
rent-free.
Yeah, I'll be dealing with that for the next 24 hours, putting up mesh and hardware cloth. And they don't know the new tenant that's moving in. he ain't varmint friendly.
Yeah.
So we'll be dealing with that. How's your week been?
Week has been good. My 4-year-old got a cough and a runny nose, so naturally my wife thinks he's got COVID-19, which you can't blame her. She's a mother, but then, you know, you got to kind of calm her down, walk her back a little bit. This was on Thursday. Right. So for the past, 48 hours, I think it's COVID. No, baby, he's 4. He's got a runny nose and a cough. Right. And you try to throw the stats at her and all that. But so she's a mess.
Have you started buying stock in amoxicillin yet?
I have, actually. Yeah.
Every parent should buy stock in amoxicillin.
But we're fine. He's fine.
Good.
We're fine, yeah.
That's good. So we've got a pretty unique guest with us this week, but let me get a little housekeeping out of the way real quick, folks. The 2020 Sporting Clays Tournament that's always presented every year by Houston Safari Club Foundation is going to be coming up Saturday, October the 10th. And yes, Ramon, believe it or not, we are going to gather.
Nice.
And gather safely. They had a clay shoot a week or so ago. I think they had 600 or 700 people show up for it. So good. Houston Safari Club Foundation is going to be out at the Greater Houston Sports Club Saturday, October the 10th. We'll kick it off around 10 a.m. Food trucks out there for breakfast, so show up early. We'll wrap it up around 3:30 with awards. There'll be games, raffles, prizes. We'll cap it all off with some great barbecue from Red River Barbecue. And it's fun. It's great for novices. It's great for experts. So if you have a team, come on out. If you don't, we'll pair you up with some other folks. And it's a day that we have to get together to have fun, fellowship, shoot, and raise money for scholarships, youth education, and for our conservation grants all over the U.S. So please join us. You can learn more about it at wehuntwegive.org, but sign up quick because we're filling up fast. All right, let's get on with the rest of our show. So this morning we are fortunate enough to be joined by, I call him a young man because I'm an old man, Mr. Lucas Hoge. Lucas, are you with us this morning?
How's it going, guys? Thanks for having me.
We appreciate you being here. Where are you currently?
Nashville, Tennessee.
Oh, very nice.
How's it going in Nashville?
Well, it's still weird, but
You sure you're not in Austin, Texas?
Yeah, it's still strange with all the COVID stuff, but we're trying to get by, and ready for fall. That's for sure.
Yeah. Now, are you touring and performing at all in select venues, or what's going on?
Well, believe it or not, yesterday morning I got a call and they canceled the last 4 shows that we had hanging on. So this year's pretty much a wash.
Man, what a year.
Yeah, so you're not doing the drive-in tour?
Not at all. We're doing a lot of, streaming live stuff via internet, all that kind of thing. But, it's few and far between out there. The really big acts are getting the big drive-in tours and things like that. So everybody's just scratching and clawing just to stay out there.
Sure.
Tough.
I understand. Now, I think, didn't you just do something with a partner of Houston Safari Club Foundation, the Congressional Sportsmen's Foundation?
Yeah, their big event was last night, I believe, and did a few songs for them, and sounds like it was a big success for their fundraiser, which is fantastic to hear.
Yeah. I was just telling Ramon that typically I'm in Washington, D.C. this entire week for that event, walking the Hill and trying to get meetings set up with people that are, legislators on the side, on Congress as well as the Senate side, that are pro-hunting, pro-fishing, pro-outdoors, pro-conservation. So this is the first year in a long time I hadn't been able to do that. And I was glad to see that Jeff Crane and the folks over at Congressional Sportsmen's Foundation were able to put on a virtual event. So it went well?
That's what I hear, yeah. Really, really well. So, we popped in for our couple songs and then popped out. Hopefully they raised a bunch of money. I hope.
Such a weird thing, right? Having to do everything just on a webcam. And, yeah, like you said, pop in and pop out. There's no mingling, no hanging out backstage, none of that.
No. Yeah, it's rough. It's definitely different, very weird. Fortunately, I've been, in the top streaming of the world in all of music, which has been great for the last 15 weeks in a row. Yeah. But, man, it's just not the same,
Yeah, of course. You just have to approach things differently, and we'll get to everything you're doing. But you kind of spread your weight around a little bit. I mean, it's not just music focused anymore. You got a lot of irons in the fire now.
Yeah, thank goodness too.
Yeah. But that was all in motion. I mean, before all this, but luckily it was, right?
Yeah, very fortunate that we had already pretty much got the first season of Hoge Wild shot in the can, and it debuted June 29th of this year, which was like perfect for everything that everybody's going through. So the ratings have been really, really good for a first-time show out of the gate. So very fortunate about that. But yeah, there's so many people out there struggling, trying to figure out where to go next. And I'm very fortunate to be able to have this show in my back pocket.
Hey, it's funny. You have a captivated audience now. I mean, now people have time to sit around and stream shows or watch cable, and you're out in front in that respect.
Exactly. Just trying to stay out there and keep in front of people's faces, hopefully inspire people and do what we can to motivate them to keep on trucking.
Mm-hmm.
So, Lucas, that show, Hoge Wild, it's airing on Sportsman's Channel. Is it Monday nights at 6 p.m. Central?
That's exactly right. Yeah,
okay.
And we have so much fun, traveling all over the world. We were literally in New Zealand with my friends at Alpine Hunting, and like the week before all this stuff. And a friend of mine from Texas was actually flying in. We met each other on the highway. I was going back to the airport, and they were coming up to Alpine Hunting, and we crisscrossed, and they got stuck there for, I think, an extra week and a half before they let them leave.
Wow. Yeah, New Zealand was one of the more strict with...
New Zealand and Australia totally shut it down. Yeah, absolutely. All right,
yeah.
So I want to talk to you about that on the other side of the break here. Folks, join us here on the other side. We're talking today with country music artist as well as new, I guess, outdoor personality, Lucas Hoge. You can learn more about him at lucashoge.com. We'll be right back. Hunting Matters on KPRZ 950.
Cooler full of Cokes. Just watching those bobbers going down. His fingers to the bone, but always made time for us when he got home. He'd grab Mom and me a glass of tea and those old cassettes. That memory is still as sweet as it was back then.
Good morning and welcome back to Hunting Matters on KPRC 950. I'm your host, Joe Bitar. Thanks, everybody, for joining us. With me, as always, is my buddy Ramon Robles.
Is this the first guest we've had who has their own bump music?
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, it is.
Okay.
Yeah, it is our
That's
first guest
pretty cool.
that has their own bump music.
Nice.
How you doing, Lucas? Good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Oh, it's always a pleasure, guys. Thanks for having me.
That was Power of Garth by Lucas Hoge, Hoge, if you're looking for him. Although anybody who's anybody in country music should know who Lucas Hoge is by now.
Yeah, he's all over the place. He's blowing up, as they say.
He's blowing up? Okay.
He's been blowing up.
Be careful.
I mean, he's, I mean, between the album Dirty South and the new, well, fairly new TV show and all that. So,
well, new music coming out. I see it teased on his website.
Yep.
Any information you can divulge about that, Lucas?
Oh, man. Well, during this COVID thing, it kind of gave us all the opportunity to hunker down in our studios and work on projects that we've been trying to get out for a long time. And I'm working with a great new producer, a good friend of mine, Forrest Glenn Whitehead, and this is just some of my favorite music that we're finally getting to put out. So I'm real excited to get it out there for everybody.
Has it changed the way you write music? I mean, just being isolated and not being able to go out like we used to? Does that change the process?
Absolutely. Unfortunately, everybody still is wanting to do the social distance thing. I've got a few group of guys that we kind of break the rules a lot and just get to wherever we can, because I love being in a room together, and the energy is just so much better for writing when you're all together face to face. But we try and do some Zoom stuff too, and a lot of my co-writes are out of country kind of co-writes. I do a lot of stuff with friends over in London and the UK and stuff. It gave us the opportunity to write a little bit more than we normally do via Zooms.
Interesting.
Yeah, I can see the benefits of both, but I mean, there's no substitute, for the energy in the room when you get creative people together like that, right, Lucas?
Oh, absolutely. When you can bounce stuff off each other and tear each other down with a bad idea.
Right.
Room together.
Yeah.
Although sometimes we've all found through social media and the current age of technology, sometimes it's easier to be critical and not have to take the hit back for it. But it's good to be surrounded by good folks that that you can trust and that can give you good feedback, either whether it's positive or negative. Go, hey man, that ain't working.
Exactly. Just putting up with the glitches and the Wi-Fi going down, it's just frustrating too. You get halfway through a verse and a chorus of a song, and then all of a sudden you can't get back on the Wi-Fi.
Oh, yeah. My wife is in IT, and I tell everybody, if you can't marry a doctor or a lawyer, an IT professional is the next best thing. And these days, with everything, she is in high demand. So I'm kind of living. My sugar mama is pulling through for daddy.
I can only imagine. That's awesome. Good for you.
Yeah, thanks.
Now he's bragging.
Yeah. I mean, she's also smoking hot, which helps too. But I mean, she's got brains, so that helps. So we're talking to Lucas Hoge. He is, musician first, host first. I mean, what's on your business card?
Yeah, I mean, I grew up in the outdoors, early on, hunting and fishing with my uncles and stuff. But the music bug bit pretty hard, and that's been paying the bills for quite some time.
Mm-hmm.
But it's also been, my guitar, I tell everybody, it's been my passport to all these amazing destinations across the world, and getting to meet amazing people like yourself and that enjoy the outdoors, and they want to share their lifestyle with me. So I'm like, man, I'd be a fool not to start bringing a camera with me. And it all just kind of evolved. Gosh, I'd say almost 10 plus years ago, I've been wanting to do something like this, and finally to be able to have the means to do it and put it out there, and people being able to gravitate towards it has been pretty incredible.
Yep.
That is incredible. Yeah, I was involved in outdoor television for quite some time. So it can be challenging, but it's nice that you like you said we were talking about earlier on the show, you can produce your own bumper music, you know what you got, and you know what you like. And I've looked at your footage, and I've seen the show and the show highlights, and it's pretty diverse. I mean, it's not just whitetail hunting. Tell the folks a little bit about kind of what your vision for the show has been over the past year, and what you plan to do with it in the future.
Absolutely. Thanks so much for asking about that. Yeah, it's very diverse. We're literally hunting, fishing, scuba diving, jumping out of airplanes all across the world. I mean, whatever goes. It's kind of my lifestyle in a nutshell. It's like I'm not just creating these things out of thin air, It's true opportunities that have been laid in front of me that people want to share their life with me, and I the same. I'll bring my guitar and play for some of their people, or have a concert, and I'll meet somebody, and they'll be like, "Hey, why don't you fly out here and come elk hunting with me?" I'm like, "Don't threaten me. I'll show up on the front door." And I've been doing that for many, many years, and became a certified scuba diver 15 plus years ago.
Oh, nice. And
me and my wife got married in Jamaica, and that was one of our honeymoon events, was to go scuba diving down there. And our first dive was an 80-foot shelf dive, and just fell in love with it. And recently was able to transfer all that scuba diving knowledge and go hunting under the water for the first time with spears. I mean, the old spears, we were hunting lionfish and grouper, and and mangrove snapper. And until hunting, I love hunting no matter where it's at, but until you experience hunting in the ocean like that, man, it's just, I was addicted from the get-go, man. It's so much fun.
That's intimidating. I think about, scuba diving, and I think that is a lot of sea around you. That is a lot of water. I mean,
yeah, I kind of put that out of my mind.
Good for you. What a man. He's a Renaissance man.
Yeah, but sitting in a deer blind versus being in open water where not only could you be hunting, but you could be hunted.
Yeah.
That's a little different challenge, right?
Exactly right. And the guys that I were with down there, he was a marine biologist, and they go spearfishing and do tons of studies down there all the time. So they're like super comfortable. I'm still considered a novice diver, even though I've got, probably 100 plus dives under my belt, right?
Wow.
And these guys will jump in the water, and it's like they're going for a walk to, the fridge. I mean, it doesn't even,
wow.
They're so calm and so natural under there, and with the spear and a spear gun. And literally, I really didn't get any kind of direction on how to use these weapons until I was about 50 to 60 feet below the surface. And he hands me this spear gun, and I've got communication, so I can talk to my camera guy,
nice.
My wife too, but he doesn't have a underwater comms unit. So he's like trying to grunt it to me. Right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, I'll figure it out. And there's rubber cables and there's cords, and everything has to be just right, or it doesn't fire. So it took me a little bit to figure it out, but once I got the hang of it, man, it was just a blast.
You have any moments underwater where you think, okay, I might have made a mistake here?
Not yet,
okay.
Thank God.
Yeah.
There was one incident, I guess, when we were filming for my Cayman Islands episode, where I got my camera guy certified so that he could be with me under there and capture everything. And because, cinematographers underwater cost a fortune, so I was like, hey, man, you want to become a certified? You're like a third of the price. And he's like, absolutely.
Yeah.
But you get down there and you're diving and you're just kind of taking everything in. Sometimes you can get distracted and not pay attention to your air intake. And if you don't have any notification beepers or anything like that engaged, you look down and you're like a couple breaths left and you're like 80 feet. You need to do a surface
yeah.
And it's like, oh man. And I kept asking my camera guy, I'm like, how much air you got? How much air you got? Because I know he's paying attention to getting the shot, right? And we're in these caverns, and there's no way out. I mean, you got to go probably 100 yards to get out, to go up and to ascend. And we're in the middle of this tunnel, basically, at 100 feet down. And I go, how much air you got? He's like, 500 pounds. I'm like, dude, are you kidding me? That's barely enough to haul ass and get up.
Oh, yeah. That's nowhere to go, man.
Yeah. You got to ascend slowly, and you got to stop about 15, 20 feet and do a decompression stop before you can ascend up. And if you don't, if you run out of air, you're a SOL.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a Scooby-Doo rut row moment there. All right, we're going to take a quick break here. We're here with Lucas Hoge today, host of Hoge Wild and country music artist. We'll be right back on the other side on Hunting Matters at KPRC 950.
Tell me what you're drinking. When a Friday night ain't just for the guys, when I ain't living off of Papa John's and Miller Lite. Fast cars and no guitars ain't always on my brain.
Good morning. Welcome back to Hunting Matters on KPRC 950. I'm your host, Joe Pitar. With me, as always, my buddy Ramon Robles. Good morning, Ramon.
Good morning. It's good to be here. Thank you.
We made it through the first two segments.
Yeah, I haven't embarrassed myself yet. I knew I was going to ask Lucas something stupid, and I may have, but I just don't feel like I have.
You've got two more chances.
Yeah, I know.
It's coming.
I
It's
know.
coming.
We're only halfway through.
Yep. Good morning, everybody, and good morning, Lucas Hoge. How are you doing this morning?
I'm doing great, guys. This has been awesome.
Well, thanks. I wanted to turn my attention to food because I kind of like to eat. And the first thing, anytime anybody's from Nebraska, I've been in Nebraska one time, and that was ironically to help a buddy move to Nebraska. And I stopped at a place called Runza's, RUNZA''S. And so anytime somebody says they're from Nebraska, that is the only question I know to ask them. Have you ever had a Runza? And, what do you...
I would own one of the stores if I could.
Okay. I've never seen any of them outside of Nebraska before. Runzas.
Yeah. So
Nope,
tell folks about Runzas.
Yeah, they're all Nebraska based.
Okay.
I think there's only one across the state line somewhere, but I'm not sure. It might be Missouri. But yeah, all Nebraska. And the best thing on the menu for me is the cheese Runza. Oh, just delicious.
I've been on a diet for 8 months, and so talking about food is kind of my therapy. Runza, if you don't know, Joe, it's like this bread pocket stuffed with whatever.
Sure.
And cabbage, ground beef, and cheese and mushrooms, you name it.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the only place I've ever had, and this was about 12 years ago, and I miss it.
Oh, it sounds delicious.
Okay, so definitely.
Lucas, next time you go home, if you can just throw a couple of those in a FedEx and overnight them to Ramon and I.
You know, it's funny you say that. I think they actually will send you frozen Runzas.
Oh, my goodness.
You can order them online, and they'll be right to your doorstep.
I'm making a note.
I did a back home probably a little over a year ago, and a lot of my fans, from back there in Nebraska, they'll bring me Runzas because they know how much I love them. And this lady brought me a case of Runzas. I think there was like 15 or 16 frozen Runzas.
Wow.
Yeah, I loved it.
Now, to each their own, but and don't judge me, and I don't expect you to make a judgment, but I have made a road trip from Houston, Texas to Nashville for White Castles because we don't have any here. And literally, Nashville was the closest city that sold White Castle hamburgers.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I know. In the hierarchy of hamburgers, White Castle, I understand, is perceived as not that great. But at the time, it was something I was craving.
Hey, man, more power to you, dude.
Yeah. So.
People in Texas would absolutely be appalled if
I
they
know.
heard this. But, Whataburger's not Texas-based anymore, so
I know, it's a shame.
That upsets me.
Do you know of Whataburger, Lucas?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Yeah, it's an institution here.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
So do you like to cook?
I love to cook, man. Absolutely love it.
Now, and I apologize for not knowing this, but I didn't read your entire Wikipedia page, which we know is not always true. Are you said you just got married? How long have you been married?
I've been married for 11 years.
Okay.
Together for a little more than that.
Oh, wow. Wow. So did you break out the kitchen utensils to impress your future wife?
Absolutely.
Because I cooked for my wife. She still remembers the meal I cooked. The
Nice.
Second date, I made her chicken cacciatore.
Dang. Okay, yours was a little more highbrow than mine.
He ordered Runzas.
Let me set this oven to 350. I'll be good. No, what'd you cook for her?
I think it was spaghetti, and then I made a homemade strawberry cheesecake.
Oh,
There
nice.
you go.
Yeah.
Yeah,
My mom.
Go ahead.
It's in my mom's recipe.
Good call. Now, I see. I've never tried this, but you have a pretty mean mule deer meatball.
Oh man, they're fantastic.
Go.
Fantastic. Yeah, and that's another one of my mom's recipes that she's passed
Oh, wow.
down. And she these recipe books for all of us kids. I've got 2 older sisters and an older brother. And so she hand illustrated everything and wrote everything all out because she does calligraphy and she's very artsy.
Oh, nice. Yeah, that's cool.
Like pictures of us as kids eating stuff that she's cooked and then put the recipe in. And this was one of my favorites. Now, hers was just regular beef meatballs, and I had to add the mule deer because I love cooking my harvest up for friends and stuff. So I added the mule deer. I've done it with elk, different types of stuff. And, man, they're just so good. And they're huge, big old meatballs, right?
Yeah.
One meatball is a meal in itself. You just add so much great stuff. I think we add a little bit of bourbon in there, brown sugar, cracked oats, so much stuff. It's just, they're delicious.
Bourbon and brown sugar are 2 of the major food groups, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
They're staples.
Right, and bacon, and sometimes I forget the 4th. Cheese.
Yeah.
I've seen.
Beer.
Yeah, there we go. I've seen your most recent Instagram and social media posts, and they all revolve around food. Some lobster tails and some fish. I mean, you're doing pretty good.
Yeah, 9 times out of 10, I've harvested anything that I'm posting usually. Turkey breast, where these lobsters were lobsters that I caught down in Catalina for the Catalina Island episode. that we had out. I've still got like 21 lobster. It's amazing. I love it. I love it so much. It's so good. It's my wife's favorite. And then elk backstraps, and then tons, just everything I can possibly harvest is always going to be in the freezer. And I actually was able to trade out a bunch of my harvest meat to a buddy of mine who didn't have any meat, but he had lots of ammo that he wasn't using.
Attaboy.
This is during COVID, when the lockdown first started and all the grocery stores were, meat lockers were all empty. And he's like, man, I need some meat. I'm like, dude, I got elk, I got turkey, I got whatever you want. And what can you trade? And he goes, I've got about 5,000 rounds of 7.62. Do you need it? I'm like, done.
It kind of harkens back. You kind of miss those days, the old days of bartering. Bob had a pound of sugar, and you had a side of beef, and that's in the outdoor community. Sometimes that obviously, as Lucas said, sometimes that still exists. So
that's Tennessee.
Absolutely.
So you grew up with a big family, Lucas?
Yeah, 2 older sisters, older brother, and mom and dad. And we grew up on a little bitty farm right outside of Hubble, Nebraska. Hubble's population 44, so there wasn't a whole lot there except for farming, hunting, fishing, being outdoors, and going to school.
So the Hoges made up almost a tenth of the population of Hubble.
Yep, exactly.
Wow.
To the choir church, that's for sure.
Absolutely. You got me thinking about meatballs.
Well, one of the things that I was watching a preview to the Mexico episode of your show, and you were getting on to somebody for having a banana on the boat.
Yes.
Because it was evidently bad luck.
It's extremely bad luck.
Never heard of that. Have you heard of that?
No, I've not.
Do you know the word?
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just explain that. I've never heard that.
Yeah, so if you're doing any deep sea fishing anywhere, and you bring a banana, you're gonna get the skunk eye from everybody, including the fishing guides.
That's good.
So there's tons of stories going around, but the one that I'm familiar with is back in the day when they would have the fishing boats and stuff would also take fruit back to wherever they were coming from, and they would bring these big bunches of bananas, and nobody knew to check the bananas for tarantulas and big spiders.
Oh.
And spiders would get off and get out of the boat, and they'd bite the people, and some of them would die. So from then on, it was bad luck to have any kind of bananas on the boat.
Okay. Huh.
I never knew that.
Yeah.
Never heard. I mean, I've heard about them transporting, insects and things, but I never tied the boat,
the banana,
fishing, and the bananas all together.
And I forget who it was you were getting onto. It wasn't who? Do you remember?
5.
Oh, okay. Well, there we go.
Yeah, I was good because she had the banana all morning, and then she ate the banana, and therefore still have the banana on the boat, even though the banana...
Right. It was in her belly.
Exactly.
Did it ruin the fishing for the day?
We didn't catch a single thing.
Oh, my goodness.
So, yeah.
Proof's in the pudding.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Wow.
Not a thing. And then, like, a day later, we went out. I hired a local guy to take me out in a ponga, just a little bitty wooden boat, and he hired an extra guy to come with us because I didn't know what he was there for, like he was going to bait my hook or whatever, but no, he was there just to bail water out of it so we didn't sink. But we caught a lot.
Well, how about that? That's nice.
I've been on some of those trips where
those are the best ones.
You got 3 guys in the boat, one of them, and then you switch off on the bailing bucket.
That's funny.
Yep.
Absolutely. It only adds to the story.
Yep.
All right, folks, we're going to take a quick break here. We're here today with Lucas Hoge. You can learn more about him at lucashoge.com. We'll be right back on the other side with Hunting Matters on KPRC 950.
Girl, you know you turn me on. A little bit of laughing all night. Your lips against mine, so dancing to a slow. Let's roll the windows down, you and I'll play your favorite song. We'll drive until we fly. I'm gonna make it feel just like the 4th of July.
Good morning and welcome back to Hunting Matters on KPRC 950. I'm your host, Joe Betar. Across the room there from me is my buddy Ramon. Good morning, Ramon Robles.
Good morning. I just ordered my Hogue Wild long sleeve shirt. It is turning cooler.
Yep.
So I have my long sleeve Hogue Wild shirt. I just ordered.
Cool. I bet we know somebody can autograph it for you.
I bet.
Heck yeah.
With us this morning is Lucas Hoge, folks. Learn more about him at lucashoge.com. I mean, Lucas, Ramon, as we're learning, is kind of a modern Renaissance man.
Mm-hmm.
He's done a lot of stuff and probably has a lot more on his plate. Good morning, Lucas.
Good morning, guys. Again, thanks for having me.
We appreciate your time. So a couple segments ago, we were talking a little bit about some alpine hunting. You did New Zealand this past year.
Yeah, a place I never thought in my wildest dreams I'd be able to get to go to. And I met Nikki and Shane Quinn at the Safari Club down there last year.
Right.
And hit it off and just had a blast.
Aren't they good people?
Oh, my God.
The New Zealanders, the Kiwis, are just phenomenal people.
So great. And when you land over there in Auckland, I think it's Auckland, right?
Right.
And there's we were going to, Palmerston North, right?
Yep.
When you get off the plane, it looks just like, Kansas, Nebraska, the great states. And then all of a sudden it opens up in these beautiful valleys and mountains. And I'm like, holy cow, I never want to leave.
Jurassic Park. That's the first thing I thought about when I went.
Exactly. Yeah, we were up there hunting stag, and I got a fallow as well. And I had to go possum hunting. When somebody tells me they got big possums over there, I mean, I have to go.
Yeah. The possums there, Ramon, are not like our possums.
Okay.
I mean, they have merino wool possum sweaters and clothing.
Oh, my.
And they had a real big problem with them for many, many years. They've started to help them dwindle down a little bit, if you will. But, yeah, you can go in and buy clothing made out of that. They look like a cross between a possum and a rabbit and a mink. How would you describe it, Lucas?
To me, they almost look like a chinchilla with an angry face.
Yes, yes. In fact, that'll be the song of Lucas's. The name of Lucas's net hit song is "The Angry Chinchilla."
Yeah.
No, it's an incredible country. The people are phenomenal. My wife and I made a trip over there, and we did the North and the South Island, and we thought the same thing. It was like, I mean, I grew up in a fairly not 44 people in Nebraska, but a fairly small town in Louisiana, and we were sitting there one day, and she looked at me, I looked at her, and I thought, who'd have thought two kids from small town Louisiana would ever be sitting in New Zealand and seeing the things that we've seen over the past 2 weeks?
Absolutely, man. Absolutely, yeah. Hunting up there was just a dream come true, and beautiful place. Just thousands and thousands of acres. Just didn't see a soul for miles. I don't think we saw anybody for the entire week I was there, except for my guide and some of the people at the lodge. That's it. And I wouldn't trade it for the world.
Did you guys get to dive while you were there at all, or just hunt?
No, because of this whole COVID nonsense, and then the tornado had just hit Nashville too, so we kind of had to get. There was a lot going on, so we wanted to stay for an extra few days and kind of go off to the coast and try and do a white shark dive or something, but had to cut it short.
Yeah, we took a trip out to the Tasman Sea when I got finished with my hunting. We just did some touring and went to the Tasman Sea and went to a seal colony, and the chopper pilot that we went with is he's a nativer, and he said the sharks love this area because there are so many seals. Sure. And they were you could see them everywhere. So I don't know if I'd want to dive in that area particularly, but
I'd want to be in a cage.
Yeah. Kind of sounds like right up your alley. So we were talking about hunting and cooking wild game and things like that before, but there's a couple of things I wanted to touch on. You got kind of a reputation for writing theme songs for television. How did that come about?
Crazy enough, my wife helped out a lot before we were married, and how we met was at a conference here in Nashville called Country Radio Seminar. She was a radio personality. I was an artist, obviously, and we hit it off, and she came from L.A., and she was trying to get out of there and moved here and just really started hammering the industry, doing great stuff. And she asked me if there was anything that I was trying to do or wanted to do. And I was like, I've got all these songs that I've written that, want to get out there. I was just trying to break into the industry. And she knew a lot of the music directors and stuff for some of the movies and TV that were being produced out of L.A., like Smallville. Was probably one of my favorite TV shows at the time. It's the Superman story,
Mm-hmm.
And I had about 9 songs that I'd written in hopes that one day I'd be able to, get them to there. And she sent them all off, and that kind of started because they were like, "Yeah, we love these songs," and they started putting some of them into the series. And then that kind of opened up the door for people here in Nashville, the songwriting community, going, wow, how is he doing this? He doesn't have a pub deal. He doesn't have a record deal. He's just writing songs and getting them licensed to TVs and film. And so they all started wanting to write with me, and it kind of went from there. And I was, being a guest on some people's hunting and fishing shows. Christy Lee Cook had me on as her guest one time. I hit it off with the production company and the videographers, and they went on to do another show for Tom McMillan called Tom's Wild Life. And so they were looking for a theme song. I'm like, I got something, but why aren't you using Blake's songs? They're like, well, with record labels, it's hard to use some of those songs and get them licensed for a reasonable price. I'm like, well, here's a song for you. And they loved to use that theme song. And then I was actually asked to be on a show called Last Chance Highway, where I was a songwriter that was helping save and rescue dogs here in the South and find them new homes up in the New England states. And we rescue anywhere from about 160 to 180 dogs a week. And that was a fun show to be a part of. And Al Roker was the producer of that. And
oh, neat.
They didn't have thing yet, and we were on one of the transports, and I was like, you know what, I'm just going to start writing a song and see if they'll take it, and wrote it, and they fell in love with it, and so they took it, and man, it was just kind of God willing it all worked out.
That's amazing how those doors open. I mean, you probably would have never thought, how something like that would happen for you. That's incredible.
And he works with animals to get them rescued. I mean, come on,
yeah,
come on, Lucas, you can't be that perfect. Give me one bad habit.
I like to drink.
All right, now you'd make a great friend, okay?
No, he said bad habit. He didn't say.
Yeah.
He didn't say, start a bromance with Ramon.
I mean, you're part of the Armed Forces Entertainment. You do things for our troops. I mean, you even help them with their pets.
Yeah.
Do you smack? Do you chew with your mouth open? I mean, anything like that?
I'm probably a mouth breather. I don't even know it.
All right, yeah, that's annoying. There we go. Whew. All right.
All right, so he's not perfect. He's not Superman.
He's got a great set of hair. He's got great teeth, a great smile. He can sing. He can play guitar. He writes.
Let's get his wife on the show. I bet she has
some things, right? Take out the trash, Mr. Number One song on the charts.
Floodgates would open up if you start talking to her for sure.
Yeah.
Because he can't keep his room clean, stuff like that.
Right.
Throw the shoes off at the front door.
Yeah.
Well, we have about 90 seconds. We've been talking to Lucas Hoge. He is just an overall great guy. We are definitely catching him on his way up. We're going to hear a lot of great things about him in the future. And we're going to say, hey, remember that time we talked to him for an hour?
That's right. And Lucas, man, come back anytime. I mean, when you're getting ready to go into the next TV show premiere season or getting ready to release an album, we'd love to have you back on and talk and catch up and see what you're doing. And hopefully you'll get down to Houston for the Houston Safari Club Foundation convention. I sent out an invite for you to come down and be our guest, so we'd love to have you down here. But I'm going to put you on the spot here. Ramon and I like to ask our guests some lightning round questions. So here's your lightning round. You're out in a remote area. You're heading out of camp for an overnight stay. Just you. You got to pack your pack. What are the 3 things, you can only take 3, that you put in your pack for an overnight trip?
Overnight trip. Okay. So I've got a backpack guitar. I always bring that.
Okay.
And a bottle of tequila, silver.
Yep. One more?
Gosh.
What more do you need, really?
A good knife. My Hoge knife. That's probably what I'd bring.
There you go. Yeah, you got to have a knife always. Yeah. All right. Well, thanks so
much. You got to get that off the top of the bottle.
That's right. There you go. All right, man. Well, thanks, Lucas. Thank you for joining us. And, folks, check out lucashoge.com. That's LUCASHOGE.com. And we'll be back next week with Hunting Matters on KPRC 950.